Hi, my name is Alexa Beeler, and I'm the Inspector General for Cuyahoga County. Welcome to your 2024 Ethics Training. As a county employee, you are required to abide by the Cuyahoga County Ethics Code. These rules set high standards and are in place to ensure that we are conducting ourselves in a way that promotes integrity and trust in county government. This means that we are held to a stricter code of conduct than those in the private sector. Sometimes, what may be okay while working for a private employer can be a crime in public employment, so it is critical that you understand the ethics rules and reach out to the Agency of Inspector General before you act if you need any help navigating the topics we will be discussing today. Thank you for your time today and for all that you do for the county. County resources should only be used for county purposes. This means you can't use county property or supplies for your personal or private use. Personnel and your time are considered county resources, which the county pays for with taxpayer dollars, so it is imperative that when you are at work, you are working. This means that personal matters and conversations should be handled during lunch or outside of work hours. Also, your clock in and clock out times must accurately reflect when you are working, not when you are pulling into the parking garage, and not your scheduled start time if you are running behind. When it comes to county time, a good way to keep yourself honest is to act like someone is watching, because even if your supervisor isn't, you can bet that your coworkers are. This is a frequent complaint our agency receives, because county employees who are doing the right thing don't like to see county employees who are not. There are a few exceptions where the use of county resources for private or personal purposes will not be an ethics violation, such as if the use is de minimis or immaterial. What that means in practice is that a quick personal call on county time or using a paperclip or staple for personal use would not be a violation of the ethics code. However, we caution you to be careful. Even though the ethics code allows a de minimis use of county resources, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where our agency is looking into your use of a county resource to determine whether or not it is de minimis. It is always safest to err on the side of caution. Also, just because the use of a county resource is not an ethics violation does not mean you are always in the clear, because you also have to comply with other county policies. Your supervisor may have stricter standards, and it is important to note that even a brief digression from your work duties to browse the internet may be a violation of the county's internet use policy. And there are some things you should never do with county resources, even if de minimis, such as using any amount of time or tangible resources for your outside job or for political activity. The county has over 4,000 employees, so it is not surprising that we have employees who are related to other employees. As you can see on the slide, the Ethics Code defines relative broadly and even includes non-related household members and anyone that has those relationships listed to your spouse or domestic partner. Having relatives work for the county is not by itself an ethics violation. However, you cannot supervise a relative or participate in any way in a decision to appoint, hire, promote, discipline, or discharge a relative. This means that even being a part of the discussion is strictly prohibited. If you have a relative that works for the county, it is important that you disclose that relationship with the Agency of Inspector General by completing a nepotism statement, which can be found on our website. Your position with the county should only be used to benefit the county and should never be used to secure a financial or material benefit or a promise of a financial or material benefit for yourself, a relative, a business associate, or a private organization that has any relationship to you, your spouse, or a member of your household. If you are ever faced with a situation where your work with the county could secure a benefit to you or a person or organization related to you, you must not act, and you may need to take the additional step of disclosing the issue, which we'll talk about in the next slide. And as always, if you are ever unsure, please come to us for guidance before you act. Additionally, supervisors should not have their subordinate employees do personal tasks for them. You cannot require or coerce a subordinate employee to perform any task unreasonably outside the scope of his or her county employment that does not further a county interest. This includes things like picking up your dry cleaning or lunch and performing clerical work for your outside interests. Supervisors may, however, ask their subordinate employees to perform non-county tasks, not on county time, as long as they offer fair payment. But be mindful that subordinate employees typically aim to please their supervisors, so they may not feel as though they can say no to such a request. For this reason, excessive requests by a supervisor to perform tasks unreasonably outside the scope of the subordinate employee's county employment may constitute a violation of this section, even if the supervisor pays the subordinate employee. The County Ethics Code also breaks out a few specific examples that are considered to be a misuse of official position. For instance, you cannot knowingly misrepresent your personal opinion to be the official position of the county, nor can you have the county pay for you to attend a conference and then fail to attend without obtaining approval or refunding the cost to the county. Also, as public employees, you are bound by Ohio's Sunshine Laws, which means you have an obligation to make public records available for inspection or copying and cannot destroy, manipulate, or suppress public records. Confidential information, on the other hand, must be kept confidential forever. You are additionally prohibited from accessing any information that's not related to what you're doing for your job, and you absolutely cannot use any information you learn to benefit yourself. As public servants, we have a responsibility to make public decisions objectively with the county's best interest in mind, and not based on our own interests. Conflicts of interest occur when you have interests on both sides of a matter. You could have a conflict of interest if your personal interests or the interests of relatives or business associates could compromise the decisions you make in your county position. Having a conflict of interest is not illegal, and in fact, they are actually quite normal because public servants have families and friends and may have businesses and other connections to the community. It is how we respond to the conflict of interest that matters. Anytime you have to make a decision that could result in a direct financial or material benefit to you, your relative, your business associate, or any private organization in which you have an interest, you are required to disclose and recuse. The disclosure must occur as soon as you first learn of the potential conflict of interest, and it must be made either to the public in an open meeting or in writing to the Agency of Inspector General. You must then recuse yourself from the matter by fully and completely abstaining from making decisions about or influencing how the matter is resolved. This includes refraining from not only voting, but also from discussing, reviewing, recommending, inspecting, investigating, or taking any other action on the matter or participating in any way whatsoever. Additionally, you cannot be paid by a non-county entity or person to perform services on any matter that is before any county agency or department, even if it's not your own, and even if you will not personally appear before the agency. So, for example, you can't be paid by an outside client to prepare drawings that will be submitted to the Department of Public Works, regardless of whether you work in a different department and regardless of whether you attach your name or face to the work. As with most of ethics law, conflicts of interest issues are extremely complex and fact-specific, so please reach out to our agency when you first become aware of a potential issue so we can help guide you in making a decision that won't have negative repercussions in the future. As a general rule, you cannot do business with your public employer. This means you cannot sell goods or services to the county, and this is true whether there's a written contract or not. You can have no part in authorizing a contract that could benefit you, your family, or your business associates. If the county is spending money on something with which you have a connection, please reach out to the Agency of Inspector General to make sure you're not breaking the law. For instance, if there's a county grant to a nonprofit you're involved with, or a contract with your spouse's employer, or if the county wants to buy something from a business you co-own, there could be an issue. The benefit to you, or a person or organization connected to you, doesn't have to be financial for it to be a problem. So if you serve as an unpaid board member for a nonprofit that receives any amount of funding from the county, it could be just as big a problem for you as if you directly sold the county goods. There are very narrow exceptions to this general rule. However, they require such a detailed level of analysis, and there is so much at stake, that we won't even address them today other than to say, come to us so we can help guide you through this type of issue. It is important to note that this is a criminal statute and a violation could result in a felony, so it is critically important that you reach out to our agency anytime you or someone close to you could stand to benefit from a contract with the county. There are very strict rules on whether and when someone in public service may accept a gift. A gift can be anything of value. Common gifts that those in the public service may encounter are meals, travel, discounts, conference fees and entertainment, as well as gifts around birthdays and holidays. In deciding whether you may keep the gift, it is important to look at who wants to give you the gift. If the giver of the gift is a person or entity who does business with the county, is seeking to do business with the county, or is regulated by or interested in matters before the county, then you cannot accept or solicit a gift from that person if the gift is substantial. There is no hard and fast rule about what is considered substantial, so you should always err on the side of caution and reach out to us for guidance. Even if the gift is not substantial, you are never allowed to accept something that is intended to influence your official duties. The County Ethics Code doesn't allow you to accept any gift from someone if a decision you have to make could affect their interest, even if the gift would usually be something that is considered insignificant and allowable. As with most everything, there are exceptions that may apply. For instance, reasonable, customary gifts for special occasions are usually okay. It's also usually okay to accept meals and refreshments of an ordinary character if you're speaking at a professional event or if you're attending a fundraiser or community event. There are many factors that must be taken into consideration, and this area is very fact-specific. So please come to us before accepting any gifts so we can help you act within the rules. You cannot accept any rewards or gifts for the performance of your county duties from any source other than the county. Your county salary and county benefits are the only compensation you should receive for your county work. You can never accept a gift as a thank you for performing your public service, even if the gift is insignificant in value. The County Ethics Code presumes that a gift is intended as a reward for official action when the gift is from someone that has obtained county action that involved your participation within the preceding year. All thank you gifts are prohibited, whether it's to compensate you for a specific action or decision, or just for the general performance of your job duties. So you cannot accept a gift from a developer whose loan you just helped finalize, nor can you accept a gift from a member of the public as a thank you for your public service. Whether you are allowed to engage in certain types of political activity often comes down to whether you are unclassified or classified. In general, unclassified employees are not restricted from engaging in any type of political activity as long as it's on their own time and they don't use county resources or misuse their county position. However, classified employees have much stricter rules, and while they can still participate in activities such as registering, voting, contributing to candidates, and expressing opinions, they cannot participate in most partisan political activity. So, for instance, classified employees cannot campaign for a candidate for partisan elective office, solicit money for any political party or partisan candidate, or participate in any activity that is geared toward party success. Whether you are unclassified or classified, you are never allowed to donate to or solicit donations for the re-election campaign of your own currently elected employer or confirming authority, just as those elected officials are prohibited from soliciting or accepting campaign contributions from you. Up until now, we have talked about all the things the Ethics Code prohibits you from doing, but these next few topics address the actions the Ethics Code requires you to take. The first is with regard to secondary employment. If you have any outside employment that the IRS wants to know about, then we want to know about it too. You must file a secondary employment disclosure form that can be found on our website, and once received, we will determine whether your outside position and your county position are compatible and whether there are any conflicts of interest that would prohibit you from holding both. Disclosure is also required if you have a fiduciary interest with an entity and that entity receives funding from the county. This is required even if the position you hold is uncompensated. So, for instance, if you are on the board of a nonprofit and that nonprofit receives any amount of money from the county, you must disclose that to our agency, even if you are not paid for your services. In either case, you are required to disclose within 30 days of accepting your outside position, but we encourage you to disclose as soon as possible so we can help you avoid any potential problems. While you are in your county position and for 1 year after you leave, you cannot represent a new employer before a public agency on a matter in which you personally participated in your county position. For instance, if the county contracts with a vendor for one of its various programs, and your job with the county is to do work involving that program, you cannot then represent that vendor before the county on the same program for 1 year after your service with the county ends. You are required to disclose to our agency anytime you are seeking employment with an entity that is doing business with the county, seeking to do business with the county, or is any way interested in matters before the county or regulated by it. This disclosure is required when you take any steps to seek employment with such an entity, including responding to a job advertisement or sending a resume, and it is not just limited to when you receive a job offer. The Agency of Inspector General will help guide you to make sure you do not unintentionally violate any ethics laws, both while you are still employed by the county and with any future employer. A whistleblower is someone who reports wrongdoing, and that report is referred to as a whistleblower complaint. The County Ethics Code requires you to report known ethics violations of Cuyahoga County employees, elected officials, and board members. There is no guesswork involved. If you know of an ethics violation, you must make a whistleblower complaint in order to be in compliance with the Ethics Code. If you see any activity that you think might be contrary to law or regulation, or any evidence of fraud, waste, corruption, or abuse, it is easy to report and you will be protected from retaliation. And this is true even if you were wrong, as long as the reporting was in good faith. If you make a whistleblower complaint and then experience retaliation, you may file a complaint with the Personnel Review Commission, who will then determine if retaliation occurred and issue an appropriate remedy. It is easy to make a whistleblower complaint, and you may do so in a number of ways. You can choose to report in writing or verbally, and if you do not feel comfortable disclosing your name, you may report anonymously. You can choose to report to our agency, one of your supervisors, or the Department of Human Resources. To those employees who are supervisors or are in HR, you have additional responsibilities. You must never retaliate against a whistleblower, and if a whistleblower comes to you with an ethics violation, you need to ensure that it gets into the right hands. This means that if the whistleblower complaint is verbal, you must prepare a written record. Supervisors, you must notify either our agency or HR within 5 days of any whistleblower complaint you receive, and to those employees in HR, any whistleblower complaint you receive must be given to our agency within 5 days. There truly is no wrong way to contact the Agency of Inspector General. You can call, write, or visit us in person. Whether you have a question about if you can take a certain action without violating the Ethics Code, or if you have information about a violation, we want to hear from you, and we want you to reach out in the way that works best for you. The two most important things to take away from today's training are to ask before you act, and if you see something, say something. And remember, there is no wrong way to do either. Thank you for your time today and for all the great work you do for the county.